Hello, and welcome to another episode of Talking About the ADDs, movies. Yeah, I'm Jeff Taylor. This is John Gauchi, as always, and our guest today is the lovely and talented Kristen McKenzie. Hello, Kristen. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome, Kristen.
And Kristen, as you can maybe tell from my background, I remembered to do the background this time, John. Is Heathers, the 1989 dark comedy. Dark comedy, because it's doubles down on the dark, and I definitely think it doubled down on the comedy. So Kristen, first, why don't you just tell us why you picked this movie and like when you first saw this and what impressions you got when you first came to Heathers?
I picked this movie because to me, like I know a lot of people have a lot of love for like the John Hughes movies of the 80s, and those are fine. But I just think in terms of like just something super just original and particularly for the time, just something that just wasn't done. This movie is just such a standout for me, and it holds up. Like it's still to me very smart, very funny. You got Winona, you got Christian, you got just amazing production design.
Like it's on first name basis with everybody. It's nice.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know his name, but you got the guy from Beetlejuice, the guy with the hair. He plays the priest.
This the priest, yeah. I don't exactly remember my first time seeing it. I know I was a big movie nerd growing up, and I just watched anything and everything that was like on television. And so I'm sure I saw it like on Comedy Central, like, in the 90s at some point. And then, it was just always something I enjoyed watching. And then as I kind of got older, I started really appreciating it for, what it is. And I rewatched it in preparation for this. And like I said, it still holds up. It's still funny. It's still smart. I think it's very appropriate for I feel like a teenager I did at the time, and if I were a teenager now, I feel like I would still like identify with these characters and the hellscape that is high school. So.
I will say I was really excited that you chose this movie. It's definitely a movie I haven't seen in a while, so I was really excited to see it again.
Cool.
The kind of the takeaway I got from it definitely my notes, my description of it, it's a slick movie. It's about selfishness and the need for power and acceptance, and all about what will we do and following the crowd, and when it's amazing how it kind of points some of this stuff out. And I love the dialogue. I think that obviously there's phrases that we've all said a million times that came from this movie.
There was also some phrases that have never been uttered before in the English language and never have since, other than quoting this movie.
Yes, definitely very quotable. Probably the most quotable movie we've done, I would say. Probably.
Yeah,
it's extreme. Oh my God, yeah. I wrote down at least 10 or 12 lines.
Absolutely, absolutely. I bet you we all have wrote down quotes, and there are probably a lot of different ones because there's just so many.
Yeah, because some of them are just so fucking bonkers.
Yeah. All right, you ready to strap in and do it?
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Did you get any deets? I didn't get any of the stats. Did you stat it up?
No, I just got some random trivia. I don't know. Sometimes we do the Rotten Tomatoes. I don't care. Let's talk about our opinions. Rotten Tomatoes is dead to me anyways, because they like Last Jedi, and I fucking hate that movie. But that's a different.
This is not the Last Jedi podcast, Jeff. That's.
I do know it didn't do well in the box office initially, and it became like a cult classic. I know.
Oh yeah, there's no way this.
This is not a mainstream like blockbuster kind of movie. No,
but it's now a Broadway musical, so
there you go.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, that's that's when you've made it, is when they turn your dark high school comedy into a musical.
Yeah.
With choreography. Once you hit choreography, there's no turning back there.
That's true. That's what I've always said.
Sorry, I'm still getting used to a Mac. All right, let's do this.
Okay.
All right. So our opening number is K Sarah Sarah, whatever will be will be, as the clique called the Heathers, which is 3 Heathers and 1 Veronica, are playing croquet, as we all do from time to time.
Who
The one thing that strikes me right away is that all the girls are wearing different colors, and it could be as simple as it corresponds with their ball, but I also think the one Heather is red, and she's always kind of angry and like out, like acting out. The one is green. Shannon Doherty's green because she's jealous of the main Heather. I can't possibly remember everybody's names, especially since they're all named Heather. So I'm just gonna say
Heather Duke was green. Heather McNamara was yellow. So you could say
yeah. So she was kind of a coward, kind of hiding. And then Veronica Winona Ryder was blue because she was depressed.
Interesting.
And it's honestly just like a production designer's dream to just like have such a like hardcore color palette, and like the whole film is washed in these like really vibrant primary color. Like you see the little still you have right now, the lighting behind you is like that red because that's Heather Chandler's her dream sequence of a funeral. And yeah, it's really it borders on campy, like the lighting, but it works. It's really cool.
Well, I think the whole movie, I think it's kind of making fun of the fact that it's almost campy. Like it kind of turns inside and looks at itself, and a lot of the outrage and all that stuff, and we'll get into it's very campy, but I think it's obviously intentionally. So I think that it's a choice that they've made throughout the whole movie.
For sure.
I definitely think it works too. I love it.
Yeah, they definitely go back and forth from pushing boundaries to unbelievably dramatic, like real life shit. And then like symbolism, and then just like like kind of super, like like Kristen, you were saying with the primary colors, it almost reminded me of the movie Dick Tracy, where he's like a bright yellow suit, and Madonna's wearing on primary red dress, and
like, well, it's fun to do like things like film noir and like German expressionism type things like in color though, because they're historically done in black and white, and so we think of them in these very harsh ways, but they can be very colorful and striking as well. So
sorry, we just saw a cat tail go.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm sitting on the floor, so he's like,
it's attached to something.
What I got from the first scene is obviously you have these young girls that are surrounded by beauty and all this, wonderful opulence and all that. And they don't care. Like it means literally nothing to them. And, I think that definitely is a theme that goes out through the whole movie as well. So.
Yeah. Well, they're teenagers. They're
but I think it goes a little bit deeper than that too. It's just like the root of who they are, and absolutely they're teenagers, and absolutely it's angsty, but it's just like nothing's ever good enough for them.
Well, it's also shows like their one main focus is like being popular, being it doesn't matter how much money their parents have. It doesn't matter, that they can have 17 different red outfits that they wear to school, without having to do laundry for a whole month or whatever. It's just all about,
all about having that red scrunchie. That's right.
Yeah.
Not the outfit.
They don't do their own laundry. There's no way.
So then we have a little monologue from Veronica Winona Ryder, which is my first never been said before and never said again line. Real life sucks losers dry. If you want to fuck with the Eagles, you got to learn how to fly. That is so brilliant. That literally those words have never been next to each other in that order in the history of the world. So.
No, it's wonderful. It's a great way to turn a phrase. It's amazing.
And what a brilliant introduction to a character too. Like
you're like, okay. Yeah, this isn't a John Hughes joint when you hear that. All right. So
yeah, and then
no, go. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I love the cafeteria scene that happens, and it goes on for a while, but I think it's a pretty great way. It introduces us to all the main players, and we get a little taste of what everyone's about. I have to say, like, the way they lean into the jocks, like being so anti-homosexual, I feel like.
Oh, they're definitely, at least the one guy is 100% a closet case.
Yeah.
Guy from summer school is maybe just a moron. But the other guy is 100% like classic closeted case. Oh no, did Kristen get frozen?
Yeah, I know she's back. She's back. We have no idea what you just said, Kristen. You're frozen.
Oh, I was just agreeing. And again, like very kind of like daring, I think, for like a teen movie, for this time.
Well, and I think they also are right away kind of established that everybody's kind of lemmings, and like nobody really has a personality. It's just a big hive mind, and everybody's gonna follow along no matter what it is, no matter how cruel it is. There's only one person. Well, there's two people, and we got introduced to the two individual thinkers right away. But one obviously needs the other, and we'll kind of get into that, to kind of find her freedom. And it's definitely, I think that's the main thing. Like, they show you how shitty they can be, how awful. I think I'm jumping ahead a little bit, about when they make fun of Martha and the whole Martha joke and all that, and how it's all expected and it's all okay. And only, Christian Slater, I honestly forget his character's name. It's been so long.
JD.
What's his name?
JD.
Yeah, that's JD. How can I forget JD?
Jason Dean.
Yes.
Yeah. And Winona Ryder, they're the ones that are like, this is bullshit. Everybody else is okay with it. And it's just kind of setting the table of things to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor Martha. Martha Dunn.
We'll get to Martha. What's her real name? What's her real last name?
That might be the meanest, like,
Dumb
Chuck is such an awful name for somebody.
Yeah, she's the real hero in this movie anyways. And I think of Veronica more as her sidekick. So just random notes that I had from the cafeteria scene. I was like, it looked really realistic. That looked like a high school, like a Arundel that looked, you have the two doors, the in and the out to get your turkey dinner. So the two jocks fist bump. I didn't know fist bumps existed in 1989.
I'm sure they've been around a lot longer.
It's crazy, man. I was like, holy shit, they fist bumped.
Wasn't chest bumping big back then too?
I don't know.
I feel like that was the 90s.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was like a mid, but I don't know.
But
fist bumping has been around for generations.
Well, fisting's been around for generations. I don't know.
Oh, right. That's what I'm thinking of.
Hand fisting, that's the original hand fisting.
Yeah. I love the line, do they have Thanksgiving in Africa? Kind of reminds me of the I forget the name of the song, but there was one of those, like, where they get a bunch of rock stars together.
We are world.
Yeah, do they even know it's Christmas after all? Well, like 60% of them are fucking Muslims, so no, they don't know it's Christmas after all.
Well,
and they
the
don't
ones that didn't get, the ones that didn't get inquisized.
Just prick. Sorry, I'll get it. I'm a little hungover today, so I'm a little
more get off my lawny today.
Yeah. I hadn't drank in like 3 weeks, and I drank some box wine last night, and it did the job.
Nice.
Such a pillowcase. What does that mean? What does that mean to you, John? Such a pillowcase.
Well, I don't know. It means a lot of things. I don't know that one at all. I don't remember that one. I had "Fuck Me Gently with the Chainsaw." That was the
yeah. We'll get to fucking you gently with a chainsaw. Kristen, pillowcase.
Pillowcase. You know, I meant to make a note of that last night when I was rewatching this and look it up. I actually don't know what it means. I'm gonna Google it right now. I don't know. Did you already
I think
look
it's
it up?
probably somebody that just is a wet blanket type situation, like, you know,
Yeah.
covering up something great, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I feel like I've looked it up in the past, but yeah, that's a head scratcher. There's a few things in here that you're like, is that just like a really specific like reference to something that I don't understand? Is that just like lingo? Yeah. Nothing's coming up. But
And then a movie that kind of takes this as inspiration, Mean Girls, kind of plays with that a little bit with fetch. Like they kept trying to make fetch happen. Like I think some of this the writer just fucking made up.
Right.
Like,
no, I think so. I think so.
Wouldn't this be funny if they called each other pillowcases and that was the fucking, oh no, I'm a pillowcase. Oh.
Well, as you said originally, Jeff, I mean, there's just things that haven't been said like before. So I think probably the writer was just playing with stuff like you said, like let me throw some stuff out there and see, you know, what sticks, like the old shotgun approach. And some of it's brilliant, you know, and some of it's just like, oh, whatever, you're a pillowcase, sure.
And I think like, you know, in like any given group of friends, you have like weird little just sayings and jokes that you say that only you know about, you know, so maybe it's just supposed to be something that maybe they just say, or, you know, it's probably a reference to something really terrible.
Yeah, it probably has to do with like, I'm not gonna say that. Anyway, so continue with this scene. I do have in my notes, Christian Slater is dreamy. I think this is the first movie I ever saw Christian Slater in. It's not my favorite Christian Slater movie because I don't even really think this is a Christian. He's just part of the cast, but he is a hot buttered biscuit in this.
Yeah, he's definitely got the James Dean thing going too.
And his name is Jason Dean, right?
Yes.
Jason Dean.
I don't think that's an accident. I don't think so.
I mean, him just sitting there like all in black, just observing like all of the just shenanigans that are going on. This is a very long lunch period too, I felt. I was like, they really like, got a lot done in this. I remember getting like 30 minutes in high school. That moment when like he meets Veronica and like, you know, they have their little exchange and she's just like later and he's like, definitely. It's just like amazing.
I will say, as a guy who does get squinty, I do appreciate Christian Slater because he did make it sexy to be squinty. So
okay.
Well,
I mean, I'm not saying
the original squinter is Jack Nicholson. He takes a lot of.
Well, that's true too. But was Jack Nicholson really a sex symbol?
Yeah, in the 60s and 70s, and even in the 80s.
Looking guy, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, sure. Then all right. I'll take it back. I would like to thank Jack Nicholson for allowing me to be squinty.
Hey, it's an honored tradition that goes through generation.
Went from Jack to Christian to me. I just have to pass it on.
That's it. Only you three. Yeah, I do. A bit of trivia about their interaction. Australian electro rock pop punk band the Veronicas took their name from Veronica Sawyer, specifically from when Jason Dean asked, "Are you a Heather?" To which he answers, "No, I'm a Veronica." I love that. I love that. That's such a fucking cool. This is. I was thinking about this too. This might have been right about the time. So I was like in junior high, about to go into my freshman year. I think 90 was my freshman year, and John is just a year over. So I had probably leaned towards more Heathers in like the girls that I was interested in. But this is the beginning of the period where I start getting interested in Veronicas. You know, kind of the dark, kind of, you know, more emotionally present young women. All right, that was a extra special glimpse into my life that I might edit out.
Does that mean that Aaron is a Veronica or is Aaron a Heather?
Oh, Aaron is 100% a Veronica. She might present as a Heather, you know, but that's just the outward
facade.
I know the Veronica within.
Does that mean I'm a Veronica too, since you're madly in love with me?
Oh no, you're I'm sorry, you're a fucking, you've been a Heather since day one, my friend.
Which Heather though? Which Heather? That's very important.
I think I'm Shannon Doherty Heather. I would be.
Yeah, you
I
might
would
be
imagine.
Ooh.
What's that?
You also might be this Heather.
That one, the head Heather.
You could be a
That's Heather.
conglomerate of all the Heathers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everyone's got a little bit of Heather in them. Before we'll go on to the next scene, just random. Fuck me.
Oh, but JD pulls out a gun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get. Oh, that's what I'm getting to.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But so fuck me gently with a chainsaw. Spooky ass question I've ever heard when they're asking about the aliens and the lottery, the whole conundrum thing. A lime with a bomb in the butt answer might be my favorite. The bulimia scene where she can't even make her own. So she has that's a friend.
That is a friend.
That's a good friend.
I mean, maybe a better friend would be like, don't.
Right. Hey, this is not healthy.
Yeah, but then they go around the questions, and JD said, that's the stupidest question I ever heard. This is one time where I think they tried to make him look cool and it didn't really come off. His answer to this, he's gonna roll out to the middle of a lake, bottle of tequila, my saxophone, and some Bach.
My sax.
How is he gonna listen to Bach on a fucking in the middle of a lake?
He's just bringing it.
Saxophone.
He doesn't play
it's too much music. You can't have Bach and saxophone, right? You got to pick one. Pick a genre.
Can you play Bach on your saxophone?
Sure. Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, if anybody,
JD can.
It's a very like high school guy idea, I think, of like what's gonna sound cool. Yeah, my sax.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been like, dude, that guy plays sax. I want to hang with him. That's the cool dude. Like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, like even
the marching band.
Even Bill.
Did you play sax?
Oh yeah, he played sax on that Arsenio Hall show when it was during the first campaign. It was like a
no. I'm sorry. I was talking to Kristen. I'm sorry. Those two conversations at once. Yeah, I knew Clinton played on the marching band. Were the saxophone players the coolest guys in the band?
I mean, so I was on drumline, so like we were the coolest people.
You were. I love your movie, by the way. I love your movie.
You were great in it. You personally were great.
Cannon. Yeah, but like next to the drums, it's like saxophone.
All right. Okay, so it checks out. The story checks out then.
Yeah.
Another just random comment. The Jock Bros, they had like 10 milk cartons on their trays. They each had like 7 quarts or pints of fucking milk.
You need
Does
a
the
lot
body good. Does the body good. Was that when all those I'm drinking milk commercials were out? Like you might be big now, but I'm drinking milk and I will be strong one day. Maybe it was some co-promoting or something. Some synergy.
All right, and then his one line before he pulls out a gun, which we'll talk about. Does have an open door policy for assholes though, doesn't it?
Okay.
Now I'm back on JD's side. Now that's the kind of snark I'm looking for. Okay, so Kristen, you brought this up. He pulls out a fucking gun and shoots blanks.
Gun, yeah. Which we find out later they're not actually dead. Like he shot blanks at them, but still, my God. Like even for 89, this is like. I don't think allowed.
Would he get suspended or something? Did he even get suspended?
I think he got
like suspended. Yeah.
Like that's it. Oh, no more guns. It's cool,
But you know what? As I'm thinking about it, like I went to school in the South, and I know it, South Carolina, and I know it's true of like the people who are from like the country up here. Like kids would come to school with like their hunting stuff in the back of their cars, like their shotguns and shit. So I'm like, I mean, sure, he shouldn't have had it on like in the cafeteria, but I don't know. Like, now I don't.
45 Magnum. That's he's got a dirty Harry gun.
Wait, hold on. Let's be clear about this. It's not just he shouldn't have had a gun. He literally pointed at people and pulled the trigger. It sounds like he's just like, oh, hey, I've got a gun. He's like,
It's
no,
just
I think
you're
that's a little bit more than
saying
just having it in his gun rack in the back of his car.
Yeah, and you're saying I shouldn't get caught up on the type of gun that he has, or the fact that he was physically threatening his classmates.
I'm pretty sure that's illegal. I don't have the code for whatever state it was in front of me, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that was illegal.
Well, I think it was in Ohio, so
maybe not in Ohio.
Sherwood, Ohio, Ohio's questionable.
Which might be like a dig at the Shermer, Illinois, which is where all the John Hughes's movies take place.
Oh, shit.
Or it could just be me like reading into shit.
I think it might be just you.
Yeah. Okay, this is a very dark piece of trivia. So 2 of the cast members died at young ages in ways which were eerily prophesized by the script. Jeremy Applegate, whose character plays Peter. He's kind of the guy with like the curly fro. He kind of looks like Adam Devine from Workaholics. Whose character Peter says he will never. He prays to God at one of the Heather's funerals that he'll never commit suicide. Actually committed suicide at age 34. And Kim Walker, whose character Heather Chandler asked, did you have a brain tumor for breakfast? Died of a brain tumor at age 32. That's fucking that's eerie as shit. All right, so on to the first Remington party. so that we're not stuck with keggers with kids all next year.
Oh, I did have something before that.
Yeah.
I do think it's weird that, I guess it's for the movie. JD's like everywhere. Wherever they're at, he's always just seems to be like just hanging out. Like I think in the woods one time where he comes out of the wood. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And he's like just hanging out. Yeah. It's like he's everywhere. It's I guess.
I think it's maybe he's kind of following Veronica maybe a little bit at this point. He likes her and maybe he's just.
Yeah, and we learn later that that's definitely probably a characteristic and a trait.
Yeah. Oh, he's a psychopath. Yeah. JD is a.
But we don't think that yet, even though he.
There's definite signs. First one is that he's stalking everybody in, especially Veronica, but he's stalking his prey. That's what's going on right there. So, I have some notes of every time there are signs that he's a psychopath. There's definitely a breadcrumb trail to him being, so
you don't just wake up and Drano somebody. I think you never had the thought like that before.
They before they go to the Remington party, they stop off at the convenience store, which I forgot the name, but it's something quickie convenience center. So I was never a big corn nuts fan. Are you guys either? Which is better, BQ or plain, or neither? I guess.
I would say of the two, probably BQ, but neither are appealing.
Yeah, I don't
even
know.
To kill the original flavor is probably good for me.
Yeah, I don't even know what corn nuts are. I don't think they're corn. I think they're more nuts, and they just look like corn. But anyways, if you know what corn nuts are, comment below.
Ship some to Jeff's house.
Yeah, bring me corn nuts. Throw them at my door. So we learn. So JD continues, or Christian Slater continues his flawless Jack Nicholson impression. We learn that his dad is Big Bud Dean Construction. He has a motorcycle to go along with his duster. That just seems to that's a classic 80s.
And James Dean. And very James Dean.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, I feel it's more James Dean than it is Jack Nicholson. I think he's definitely. He's probably the love child of James Dean and Jack Nicholson, but he definitely has a lot of James Dean in there.
Oh, the convenience store was called the Snappy Snack Shack. By the way.
Snack Shack. How could I forget that? It's such a snappy title. The Snappy Snack Shack.
Very easy to say.
Yes, that's what you want in a brand. So we get to the frat party at Remington University. I assume established by Pierce Brosnan from during his Remington Steele days. So some of the lines from at the greeting: just throw your coats on the floor, party. She loves to party. Oh, I love to party. One of the frat guys, the one in like the red Hawaiian shirt, is at least 34 years old. If
They're
not,
so old.
oh my god, and the other guy's pretty old too, but they're um
Well, at least they made them look old, because usually like they make everybody look super young even when they're not. So at least
Yeah.
like there was definitely like a distinct age difference between the two of them. You could tell who were the older ones and who were the younger ones. So I did
Yeah.
appreciate
And
that.
also, I think Winona Ryder was like 15 or 16 when this was being filmed too.
Wow.
So it was very, like, to me, she looks very young in this movie. So
it was tough because Veronica, because Winona Ryder looked like she was 16 until she was 34. And but yeah, I actually think she looks younger in Beetlejuice I guess when did I don't know, Beetlejuice might have came out before that.
It came out the
Beetlejuice
same
was
year, I
before.
think, but they definitely, I think, made her up to look younger for sure. Because I think her character was maybe
Yeah,
more
I think
time.
her character is definitely younger in Beetlejuice than
Yeah.
in this one.
Yeah,
But
so
still, she was a baby either way. She
Yeah.
was very.
and maybe they cast the middle-aged college frat boys on purpose to kind of show how creepy that is, that high school girls are here, let's go hit on, that's yet reason 5,622 why I fucking hate fraternities. But again, that's for another podcast. The frat guy's winning line with Red Heather.
That's Heather Chandler.
Heather Chandler. You're so hot tonight, I can't control myself. So she blows him.
Well,
I mean,
for her,
it's not 100%. It's not enthusiastic consent she's giving. It's definitely extremely, extremely rapey. It's really.
well, I think it goes back to the original. It's not about, for her, it's not about the dude. It's about her being with a college guy.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's all about appearances, and that's the main string throughout the whole movie. Is she's doing what she has to do. She's bringing her friend along, and she doesn't care if her friend gets raped because they're at a college party. That's the only thing that matters to her.
And she actually, like right after this, she yells at Veronica for not fucking the guy and for getting sick
and getting and vomiting everywhere. Instead of being concerned about her friend, she's concerned about the image that it portrayed, and how you still look like a high school girl instead of a sophisticated woman or whatever.
Yeah, and
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I actually love the scene, another very dramatic moment after she takes a shot in the mouth, where she does the spit. She like drinks some water and then spit takes onto the like mirror in the bathroom. Like, she's so ashamed of herself, but she knew she had to, that's what she had to do. That's like I said earlier, that's one of the things where it goes from campy to commentary to like an actual like brilliant dramatic like moment. And I really enjoyed that semi-rape blowjob scene.
You love to sit in her shame and watch her.
Yeah,
well, it was a very real moment for an otherwise pretty over-the-top character. That might be the only time we really see her like being like a real person, even though it's like she's clearly like hating herself and yeah.
It's just her doing whatever she has to do to get the power she wants. Yeah. And that's the
later when she's yelling at Veronica for throwing up, Veronica has the great line, "Lick it up, baby." It up. So it's like, oh my god, we're just like right back there to the fantastic normal lines.
Yeah, she says, "Yeah, I got paid and puke," and she's like, "Lick it up, baby." Lick it up.
Yeah.
The other great one I had was, and I didn't write it all down, and I probably would have remembered it if I hadn't watched it so long ago. But I just got down Swatch Dogs and Diet Coke heads. I think when she was talking about the girls, I
actually have this
like
4 quotes in a row there. So the other guy who's trying to work his magic on Veronica's, his line was, "Let's do it on the coats. It'll be excellent." But to be fair, the other guy's line worked. So I mean, you guys
Jeff, you didn't say this was a romance movie. I mean, this is...
Oh, but it is, John, just not right now. And then Veronica
on coats was like a novelty. Like, oh, let's do it on coats. We can never do that.
Are you sure you're not quoting The Notebook, Jeff? Are you sure you got the right movie?
Again, another a podcast for another time.
The Nicholas Sparks podcast.
Oh, the Nicholas Sparks. We'll do an entire year of Nicholas Sparks. I can't wait. Some other great lines. I'll just knock them out real quick. Save the speeches for Malcolm X. I just want to get laid. To which a great response from Veronica is, "You don't deserve my fucking speech," which is brilliant. And then the one you were talking about, John, Betty Finn was a true friend, and I sold her out for a bunch of Swatch dogs and Diet Coke heads. Killing Heather would be like offing the Wicked Witch of the West. Wait, East, West. God, I sound like a fucking psycho. Clue.
Foreshadowing.
You're breaking up a little bit, Kristen.
Yeah.
Your feed does not like us.
Oh dear. How about now? Is this better?
That's good.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. So then I love how they intercut this though with her, like, you know, writing her diary, and then JD arrives at Veronica's window like Romeo. There he is.
Yeah, a little late night strip croquet.
Who doesn't do that? Who hasn't done that?
I mean, every weekend.
Yeah. That old tale.
And I love that in this world, like, croquet is code for, you know, sex. It's very funny.
Yeah.
Okay, and so then we get to, like, you know, the big scene. You know, they go over, they're gonna give Heather a hangover cure, and JD goes right for it. He's like, "Here it is, like,
right.
Let's do this," you know.
I put second sign that he's a psychopath. The first thing he looks for is how can I fucking kill her?
Well, right, because Veronica, like, you know, I think it joked about it, and so he's like, "Oh, okay, we can make this happen." I really wonder if, like, JD had killed before, if this was his first kill, because he kind of feels like a serial killer in, like, berserker mode in this movie.
A serial.
Well, there's obviously something about his mom, and you know that we get into that a little bit later, but like with his mom getting blown up in the building, and obviously that definitely comes back later. And like the way he talks to his dad, I'm sure that's on your list, Jeff. I mean, that's, you know, there's definitely, like, I don't know if it's just him or if it's like a family gene, because his dad's a weirdo too.
Yeah, his dad is a different kind of psychopath.
Yeah. Somebody murdered his mother. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I don't know if it was his dad or it was him or if it was both of them, but his mother did.
Also,
God.
It's like seeing your mother like commit suicide in that way though would be maybe enough to like just send you around the corner though, you know, like if he already had like this fucked up sort of psychology going on, maybe he maybe that just sent him. I'm just curious like where he's at. Like I would love like a psychological profile of JD
or a prequel, pre-Heathers, the JD show.
Because they talk about they move around a lot. Maybe it's because JD keeps killing people and he's got to leave.
100%. It'd be like the Ratchet show.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. Is it good?
No, but it looks good, and I love Sarah Paulson. But again, we digress. I have some notes here. Phlegmglobber.
Oh yeah,
that's a word. I heard a lot of 80s weird terms, but I never heard phlegmglobber.
No.
And I guess what's grosser, phlegmglobber or milk and OJ? I don't think milk and OJ is that gross. That's how you make like you make like cocktails called a creamsicle, which is like vodka, milk.
Yeah, but I think you're missing that key element of vodka to burn, you know, everything away. Have you ever it's like brushing your teeth and drinking orange juice or brushing your teeth and drinking milk. It's pretty gross.
Yeah, because that's mint and
Yeah.
orange juice.
But I think I we try it. Drink, down a glass of milk and then
I have some milk and some OJ in the fridge. You
do them
want
both at the same time.
on
We'll see.
camera?
It's a
No.
science experiment. We'll see what happens to you.
I mean, either way, like if somebody's phlegm in your drink is way grosser. Like, yeah, it's vomit inducing.
Yeah.
So
That is, I am not for eating or drinking anybody's.
no,
Not, that's
no.
Yeah.
No.
And then we're gonna get to some instances where I feel like Veronica could have voice of reasoned JD a little better than she does in the beginning.
Well, it's the other way around. He's pulling this out of her. She doesn't want to be voice of reason. She wants to do what he's doing, but she wants to have the ability to say, no, this is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wants to maintain like her, like, no, I'm on the right side of this. But
Right.
he is like kind of
treating.
feeding on what she's giving him a little bit. And she is going along with it because yeah, she wants Heather to die. She fucking hates her.
Right.
Yeah.
There's definitely like a Bonnie and Clyde situation going there.
Yeah.
Like,
I also
more
put,
Yeah.
I was like, this movie is actually natural born killers.
yeah.
That was one of my notes.
Yeah.
It's Woody Harrelson and Juliette Lewis.
Yeah.
But in the 80s. The instance in this where he's like do it, no, don't do it, do it, don't do it, and then finally she's like, okay, fine, we'll do it. Like that's all. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm off on that one.
Yeah, well, she, I guess at the end of the day, she thought that they were just, making her vomit and not kill her. But I think deep down, like she knew. I feel like because then if you really didn't want that, you eliminate the possibility completely and totally. She never did that. So
Yeah, she could have checked which cup she grabbed.
Right. She wanted, it's what she wanted. It's at the end of the day, it's what she wanted. She, the only difference between her and the Christian Slater character is she feels remorse and she draws a line, and he never does. He just wants to keep on going and going, and he's pushing those boundaries as far as he can.
All right, and then we move to teacher or kind of a principal or administrative kind of meeting. Everything the hippie, I don't like the hippy dippy character teacher. I don't think you're supposed to like, but everything she says in this scene is like 100% what they should do.
Right.
And it's just immediately laughed off. You're like, no, we can't possibly talk to these children about suicide prevention. We just take a day off. It's a half day for a cheerleader.
Enough. Yeah.
And then Principal Gowen's line at the end of this is done. I hate Mondays, which is maybe a little kind of Easter egg, because there's this great 80s song called Don't Like Mondays by the Boomtown Rats, I believe, which is about a girl who shot up her school and in the 80s, and when they asked her why she did it, she said, I don't like Mondays. So there's another little piece of trivia you didn't know that you wanted to hear.
That's cool. I love the scene in the locker room with all the girls. Veronica's obviously fucked up about it. Heather McNamara seems genuinely sad. She's like kind of the only, like, her and Betty are kind of the only like two like actually not morally corrupt people in this movie. And then I just love Heather Duke. She's immediately just eating like a bucket of fried chicken.
She's like, finally, I'm free. Finally.
Yeah.
She doesn't have Heather Chandler probably breathing down her neck about every calorie anymore.
Now, I don't remember the chronology, so maybe you're getting to this, Jeff, or not. But my note was the suicide note that obviously was written by Veronica, gave Heather depth. She gave people all of a sudden respected her and loved her and admired her because, it gave her this added compassion that she didn't have as a human being, as a live human being. And I thought that was funny. Like, I know that was like the opposite. They wanted to tear her down, and then they show like, okay. And it also kind of shows how we are as people. Like, we always kind of lift up the biggest, even if they're the biggest assholes, when tragedy happens, and we want to always kind of make them to be better out than they were. So,
Yeah.
Also, a little detail I love when she crashes through going back a couple scenes, when she crashes through the table, you see the cliff notes of the bell jar.
Yeah, that's just a random.
Yeah. So
written by Sylvia Plath, who killed herself as well, right?
Well, right. That's the significance, but I love that it's the cliffs notes of the bell jar. Like, not even.
That's so on character for
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Cliff Notes were the Wikipedia or way of cheating at book reports in the 1980s.
It was just a summarization of whatever.
I did. I don't know about the order either, but I did want to talk about real quick about the cafeteria scene with the hippie teacher making everyone
hold hands,
and
that's later,
yeah, and then she passes the suicide note around.
Yeah.
For
so that's
that's later. I think that's later in class.
The note it's after the locker room scene, and the teacher announces she has the note. How did she get the note? How did she get the note?
Yeah, that's not evidence.
How did she get it?
Well,
who did she know?
We'll see later. The Sherman, Ohio police force is not a top-notch crack crew.
No. Sure would.
Sure would. Yeah. And then so there is. I did have a copy of the shooting script, and there is a scene like put in here that's not in the movie, where there's a bunch of where I think the jock bros are looking, like trying to recreate the scene from Porky's, where they're like looking into the shower, and it's just them all wearing clothes and talking to each other. And they're pissed off. They're like, why are they not naked? Fuck. Well, I'm putting my dick back in my pits. It was probably cut for time, but I thought it would have been funny. Yeah. Okay, so it's right around 11:30. So we'll take a little break. It's probably not 11:30 when you're watching this, but maybe if I time it out right. And that means you have to watch it as soon as we publish it.
That's right.
Okay, so be on the lookout for that. We'll be right back with talking about the ADD's movies, Heathers, with our guest Kristen McKenzie.
I wanted to be a member of the most powerful clique in school.
Dear Diary, Heather said she teaches people real life.
You were nothing before you met me. You were a Girl Scout cookie.
Does it not bother you that everybody in this school thinks that you're Veronica? Like I give a shit.
Heather number one just looked right at me. You a Heather?
No, I'm a Veronica. I don't really like my friends.
I don't really like your friends either.
They're people I work with, and our job is being popular.
Maybe it's time to take a vacation.
I just killed my best friend.
And your worst enemy.
Same difference. My teen angst has a body count. This is a tragic thing.
Hallelujah.
We scare people into not being assholes. What did you say, dickhead?
I did not want them dead.
You did too.
Did not, shut up!
I love my dead gay son.
You were out of control. That knife is filthy.
What do you think I'm gonna do with it? Take out her tonsils?
Ha!
Is this as good for you as it is for me?
Life can suck.
That's it. We're breaking up.
Hello, and welcome back to talking about the ADDs
Movies.
Again, our guest is Kristen McKenzie, and we are talking about Heathers, 1989 dark comedy. And where we whence we last discussed this movie, we were They had just had a scene in the girls' locker room where the dead Heather has left her swatch to Veronica, and now we are actually in the class of the hippy dippy teacher, and she is now passing the suicide note around the class so everyone can read it up close and personal.
Wait, I did want to ask, I forgot, is this when the other Heather before that in the locker room when she assumes the role and takes the scrunchie? Is that then or does that come later?
That's a little bit later.
That's a
I
little
think
bit-
that's a
okay.
little later. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I wonder how long it would take her to get fired if she did this.
How did the teacher get that note? Like how did she get it? Like that's
Yeah,
that's
like
the most unbelievable part of this movie.
Well, as Jeff kind of mentioned late, I mean, we meet the police later and they're not a crack guy.
It's
So,
true.
you know, she, I'm sure she probably just walked into the police station and picked it up.
What a ghoul.
Yeah.
She just walks.
Or maybe got him high. I mean, maybe got the cops high and then just grabbed it because
Maybe
they
she
probably are getting high together, right?
a lovin' with the cops.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the next scene, which was
So I think so. We have the note giving
Mhm.
bitchy Heather like this monster of a person, depth and soul, and
Right.
everybody's starting to really like, so you know, identify with her and what a wonderful woman she was and how great she was to everybody, which is completely untrue.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we've established, like, you know, the lemmings are kind of lining up, and they're all, you know, she's this wonderful person that she never was, and then now I think we're going to start to dip into what a real. I mean, we've kind of seen glimpses of what a psychopath JD is. And now I think we're really getting there. Like that's where like the next kind of couple scenes are like, okay, this guy is not normal at all.
She goes to JD's house and they're watching like the news coverage and they see like
that
all these people like that don't care about her talking about how wonderful she was and these experiences they had with her. It was very gross.
Even at one point, Veronica screams at the television, like, "What are you talking about? You hated her. She hated you."
Mhm.
And, because even people like not her Heather's friends, like the sort of middle people that kind of like Betty and the like, and even, you know, almost everybody except Martha Dumptruck is martyring Heather Chandler.
Yes.
Chandler.
My dead Heather.
Mhm.
Used to be Red Heather,
Nah,
now
she's
currently dead Heather.
Dead
But
red.
But yeah, and then like you said, and then after they're watching it, they're at JD's house, and now we're gonna meet JD's father, i.e. his Jedi master in the art of serial killing. You
Complete
can
psychopath. Yeah, complete sociopath.
Yeah. At first, I thought he might be like just super cool dad. They have this little fun thing where he calls JD dad and JD calls him son, and they obviously have this little back and forth. But then he gets right into like the problems he's having with environmentalists destroying this building just because Glenn Miller took a shit there one time or something. I think was the line. And then he's talking about remember in Kansas when they had some wheat people he had to deal with, and he fucking blew that building up too. It's like it's easy to see where JD gets his
Right.
Disregard for human life.
And it's also once again foreshadowing. The seed has been planted on the end of the movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, this is our first demolition breadcrumb.
Yeah. What I had after that is then we go into Veronica and her family.
Yeah.
And then I had that her parents are disassociated narcissists. Like they, you know, nothing like whatever. It's like everything is normal. Everything is, you know, like nothing's ever happened. Like her daughter's not in horrible pain or sad or anything. They're just, everything's like nothing ever happened.
There's a lot of like patterning in this movie too, which is cool. Like they have another beat of this, like, you know, the dad's saying, "Tell me why I smoke these things," because you're an idiot. Oh yeah, and they had a conversation like that earlier, and I just love this line that gets played a couple times, like, "Great pate, but I got a motor if I'm gonna make it to X." So the
first
party.
one is, I got a motor if I'm gonna make this funeral. Like it's like a sock hop.
Exactly. Because the first time she said it was about a party.
Yeah.
And so like they're the same, I guess, in this world. Funeral, party, whatever. Yeah.
I also loved Veronica's mom's kind of inquiry here too. Is like, that was a terrible thing about Heather. So when will we get to meet this dark horse prom contender? Like she knows, she's like, yes, but what really matters to me is who's this cute boy you're running around with?
This murderous young man that
and how many people do you think he's murdered so far?
And it's kind of funny because like everyone in this world is kind of bonkers. Like, so for a while you're thinking like, well, JD really has a point here. Like everyone really is kind of perfect.
Right. Do these people really deserve to live? Right.
Yeah. And Veronica's kind of our weird voice of reason some of the time.
But I think we go down the same path as Veronica. Like we're like, yeah, these people deserve it. And we're like, well, no, it's gone. Now you've gone too far. Like,
exactly.
Like these people mess with Martha Dump Truck. We want you all to die. And now it's like, now you mess with Martha. It's too much. It's too much.
Right.
Yeah. Although when they do mess with Martha, I do have murder in my heart. So that is, I understand, but he's also, he falls through on the psychopathic urges.
Yeah. So then we're at the funeral.
Yeah, I have Father Ripper's like little.
Sounds good.
I blame not Heather, but rather a society that tells its youth that the answers are on the MTV video games. We must pray the other teenagers of Sherwood, Ohio, know the name of that righteous dude who can solve their problems.
Oh, so good.
And it's the weird guy from Beetlejuice.
So fun fact, I did read that the writer, Mark Waters, of this is the older brother of the director of Mean Girls.
Oh
shit.
Yeah.
Circle complete. Nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
That seems like a second part of a trilogy then.
Yeah.
So.
I know. Yeah. Very cool.
I love in the funeral when they're all, praying and talking to God. Every one of them is talking about themselves. Like it's nothing at all to do with their supposed dead friend. It's, it just kind of goes back to everything else about, it's all for show. Everybody's, sadness or whatever is just, because they want people to think they're better people than they really are. And then they're, when they're talking to God where they're supposed to be, more compassionate, they're just all about themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one is my favorite. It might be Heather Dukes, which is, I prayed for the death of Heather Chandler many times and I felt bad every time, but I kept doing it anyways. And now I know you understand everything. Praise Jesus.
Yeah. I wish we'd seen like we don't really find out what happens to Heather Duke, really. Like, we see her at the end, like, Veronica kind of has a little exchange with her, but like, she was like very downtrodden and then she rises up and then she's kind of left in this weird space. I would love to find out like what happened to her. Like where's Heather a month later, like after all that, like where's her psyche?
Yeah, like did she put the green dress back on and now she's like trying to be like Veronica?
Yeah.
Well, I thought that was the point, that Veronica liberated everybody and she took the red scrunchie. So, there would be no more reign of terror. Everybody got to be, and she was hanging out with Martha. I mean, I know we're jumping way ahead. I mean, I don't know if we're wrapping up. But
I have to think, just like any other dictatorship, just because you get rid of one dictator for another doesn't mean you have regime change.
Yeah,
It's
and she
just
does
been
say
like
that
a lot more hipper, like
So
emo.
she's not the Obama of the 80s. Is that what you're saying?
maybe she's the Bernie Sanders. We don't know.
Yeah,
What I'm saying is we don't know.
we don't know.
But I want to see what that looks like. Heather's too,
Yeah.
Electric Boogaloo.
of course. Okay, now we get to the Pudwapper just stepped on my foot scene outside of the.
Mhm.
Also, there is a quick thing set up for a later scene where Heather and Veronica are going to go on a double date with the douchebag bros, because Heather wants to go with the one, and she promised that she would bring Veronica with her. But then we have this scene where the Kurt and Ram are their names. Ram.
It's a great name.
Yeah. Are talking about their double date, and then two of the nerdy kids, which names in here are just like Braces, and I don't know what, I don't think the other guy even gets a name, but his Braces and his buddy accidentally step on their foot, and then they decide to beat them up and like
At the funeral, right? This is all still
at the funeral, like center stage, like right in front of a beautiful water fountain in the background. Like it's pretty much, there are a lot of scenes like this in 80s movies. When Revenge of the Nerds, they like try to drown him or they throw him in the pool and stuff, and not the pool, the fountain.
When the Tri-Lambs come to save him.
But this also reminds me of Bobcat Goldthwait's stand-up routine right around this time, where he was talking about he's like, and this guy's beating me up, and he's like, because I hate you so much, because I'm so attracted to you, and I want to have sex with you, but I don't know how that feels, so I'll just beat you up. And that's what I got out of this scene.
Yeah.
It's weird because like the nerds kind of like, they give it back to him a little bit at first.
Sit on this and spin.
Sit and spin. So I don't know. There's just like a lot of weird dynamics, a lot of like button pushing. It's very, very strange. Because you would think two kids like that, they wouldn't dare, say anything to these guys, because they're obviously like insane meatheads who are going around pummeling everybody. Like, why would you provoke them? But they do. I guess they figured it was worth it.
Yeah, well, or they figured, two almost adult men wouldn't start a fight at a funeral.
Right.
And they were wrong in that assumption.
Well, right.
They thought they had the safety of in church.
Of society.
Yeah, right. And the adults maybe might do something about it that were there. But
the adults never do anything about anything.
That cool dude Jesus wasn't around at that time, I guess.
Yeah.
So now Veronica is reluctantly agreeing to go on this double date, and even says, "I hope it's not one of those nights where they get shit faced and take us to the pasture to tip cows." Cut to, they are shit faced in the pasture, about to tip a cow, which is an urban legend. You can't actually, it would take like four linebacker size people to knock over a cow, and they can get back up. It's not like it's portrayed in all the 80s movies, like such as this one.
Well, that's good, because I think tipping cows is very mean.
Yeah, me and John grew up next to the Naval Academy Dairy Farm, and I can't even remember a time where anyone suggested that we do that.
No.
It was more likely that we would go and try to find mushrooms on the cow shit than try to knock over a 1,200-pound beast that's just minding its own business.
Right. It seems just very out of line to do that.
But very in line with our good friends Kurt and Ram.
Yeah.
And then of course, our friend JD is here because he's everywhere.
Right.
Was he at the funeral?
I don't remember seeing
Drove
him.
by at the end, right around the time the jocks were
Of course he did.
beating up those guys, and he drives by and gives them a look like, I'm watching you.
Yeah, I'm gonna murder you next.
I'm gonna fucking murder you. And then in the woods, he just sort of appears, and I love like the lighting in this movie, because he just appears and there's for no reason. It's not motivated at all. There's just like blue light and like smoke around him, and really cool.
It was
So
like
cool.
it was like a MTV music video name.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's got to have an entrance, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
No, I'm here for it. I love it.
yeah, absolutely.
And then,
And then I kind of hop to where JD kind of feeds Veronica all this bullshit about tranquilizer bullets and all this when they're plotting to get their revenge, because they don't, all the shit they said about Veronica. And I think once again, I think Veronica knows better, but she wants to believe it, so she goes along with it.
Yeah.
I had trouble with this scene when I first watched it when I was younger, because I was just like, it just sounded like a bullshit story that me and my friends would tell each other when we were like 8 years old. They're like, yeah, these are special Luga bullets, and they would never, they barely break the skin. And like, because we don't understand the physics of thing, that if it's propelled hard enough to reach them, it's more likely gonna kill them.
Continue to go. It doesn't just stop.
It doesn't. Yeah, it just doesn't stop once it hits a nice fleshy organ.
I mean, Veronica's smart. Like, I think we've established Veronica's smart. She's savvy. She knows better. She just wants to believe it. Like, she still wants to believe that JD is not a psychopath. She wants to believe in her heart that she's not a psychopath. So, I mean, she's writing a suicide note. Like, why would you write a suicide note if,
and she likes JD. Like, she's got that, teenage.
I think she also likes the excitement of the whole situation. Like, I don't think she's innocent in this.
No.
Yeah, and she's allowed to justify it by they are terrible people, and she has sat by for at least the entirety of high school, if they're seniors, and been a part of this and this hierarchy or whatever, and now she's like doing something about it, but it may be serial murder.
Yeah.
But at least she's getting in the game, like she's taking the fight to them.
She's living.
I will say, and the part that's funny to me is, the plan, like let's make it look gay. The part that was funny to me was the mineral water. Like, obviously, in that part of the world, if they're drinking bottled water, they're definitely gay. There's no doubt about it.
Well, also one of the things they had was just a candy dish, a dish, like nothing else, just a candy dish. Like,
yeah, and it's like, it's such a throwaway line. He's just like some nice porno, a candy dish, and of course this piece de resistance would be just like candy dish, of course candy dish. It goes right along with the porn.
Right.
And the one guy's like,
I mean, it's good. It's like a commentary on how stupid homophobia is, and how just we make these stupid generalizations and stereotypes about all kinds of people.
Veronica's like, mineral water's come a long way, and he's like,
it may be 89, but it's still the 80s. Yeah, and then he so when they actually commit their murders, or what, I guess JD does both, but
she does the second one. She does shoot him.
Oh yeah.
Shoots Ram.
Yeah, but the first one, he shoot, even if there were these imaginary Luger bullets or whatever existed, he shoots him right dead in the fucking throat.
It stops. It stops right there. It's fine. It stops. It's like a pellet. Fine.
There's no, they're having just recently. It's very tender here. I don't even getting shot by a BB gun in the throat would fuck you up.
Yes, it would.
So this is a more overt murder than our poisoning. What are your thoughts on stepping up their murder game?
Rad. I mean, yeah, no, it's cool because like now it's like, you know, it's just like raising the stakes, right? Like Veronica is gonna have to deal with this, and you know, the fact that like, okay, this wasn't an accident. There's no way I can rationalize this. I fucking pulled the trigger on one of these. There's this really heartbreaking shot of like the first guy, like when JD's chasing around Ram, and you know, she realizes, or she's starting to realize, you know, that Kurt is dead, and it's just this really nice shot of him like in his underwear. He looks so vulnerable, and he's fucking dead, and you can tell like he just looks like this young kid who's like been murdered for what, you know. I don't know, I found that little, it's just like a few second shot, but I thought it was really moving. And now JD is just like, he's running after right, he's running to kill this guy, which is pretty scary. And then he runs him back to Veronica, and she pulls the trigger on that one.
And I think there you have the transition where Veronica's laughing because we got him, hi, great joke.
Yeah.
And oh no, this isn't a joke. Like this is for real.
Yeah.
Like she no longer has deniability. Like this is now, it's in her face. She has to deal with it.
Yeah.
She's in for a penny and for a pound.
Right. Right. So it's no longer fun and games anymore. So
she almost has to. I was thinking she almost like had to kill Ram because, as you know, like as a classic murderer, and if you watch any Sopranos episode, you got to kill all the witnesses too.
Yeah.
And she like
she's implicated. 100%, she's implicated, right? She has.
Yeah, but it's like she's in survival mode now.
The plan, you know, you had to stick to the plan, and that's what, you know, she eventually does. But you know, this is definitely where the mood of the movie changes, right? This is now no longer.
Well, because the cops show up next, and that's
right,
a little moment of levity before.
Well, I'm just talking about like her mood, like her idea of, you know, we're no longer rooting for them against the Heathers. We're like, okay, this is gone too far. Yeah. This is now survival mode for everybody, right? This is, you know, now we have a confirmed psychopath murderer on our hands, and what are we going to do with it?
Yeah.
You know? But yes, you're right. The stoner cops come in.
Yeah. So my first impression of the cops is when they find the two boys murdered holding the guns. They pick up the small gun. The guy picks it up with a pen so as not to get fingerprints on it, which, by the way, JD and Veronica's fingerprints are all over these guns.
Evidence everywhere. Evidence everywhere.
But then after gently looping a pen into the trigger holder and pulling it up, he just grabs it with his hand, and he's like, "Oh, look at this." You ever seen one of these, Carl?
Jeff, they had all the evidence they needed. There was mineral water there. There was a note. Open and shut case. I mean, it couldn't have been more clear what was going on there.
Yeah. The cops, I think one of them says, why did they do this? Because they recognize who these kids are.
Yeah.
And he just holds up the mineral water. He says, does this answer your question? Absolutely. Case closed.
You can tell forensics to stay home on this one. We got it under control.
Yeah. And then one of the cops says, what a waste, which is patterned again. Also, somebody said that when Heather died too. They said, what a waste, you know, just like what a waste of youth and life and whatever. And then they run to the car because the police, like one of the police is chasing after them for a second because you know, they heard stuff in the woods, but they get away because they start like making out in the car, and so the cop just like leaves them alone. And then we cut to back
animal or something, right? There's an animal in the woods, so he's just a guy.
Yeah. And then they cut back to school. They're in the school parking lot. I guess they drove there after the murder to wait for school to begin. And they wake, and you know, Veronica wakes up and is sort of like realizing, you know,
Right.
what really happened.
Wakes up physically and metaphorically, right? She's ready to take on the monster that she helped create.
They have this really cool scene where she gets a cigarette and she presses the cigarette lighter and like burns it into her hand, and then JD lights a cigarette from the burn on her hand. And all of this is fine. All of this is like Veronica's still like, okay, yeah, I'm in it. You're still my boyfriend.
High school.
Angsty teens, right? Angsty. I'll be right back.
Yeah, and so tired.
How late did you stay up last night?
I think 1.
Oh.
But I got up at like 6:30.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you just wake up at that time?
Yeah, and then on the weekends I'll take naps. So I gotta find out I gotta figure that one out when I can nap sometimes.
Are you going to critter time practice?
Maybe.
I might be.
I feel bad, but
I do too. I feel bad because I don't want Biz to think I don't care, because I do, but I'm really tired, and we're supposed to have the Topes over later, and I have to like clean up the house. Also, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. I had to make sure my son was up so he won't miss a soccer game.
Jack's sleeping in late, huh?
Yeah. Like, dude, it's 11 o'clock. You got to get up.
He's getting that age.
Yeah.
All right. So where were we?
We were at
We're back to
the
school.
Center Cops, and I think we're getting ready to go into the funeral for the Ram and Kurt.
Well, yeah. There's a like administrative meeting with principal and the
Where they're starting to listen to what's her face now, the hippie.
But before that, when they're still in the car, Veronica starts to sort of like verbally like be voicing that she realizes what's happened, that or that she realizes that they really killed him or whatever, and JD starts trying to tell her like, you wanted this to happen, you just didn't want to face your feelings, like I'm the one that's helping you face like your real feelings, which might be true, but it doesn't make it okay.
No, right.
But he's trying to rationalize it for Veronica too, because he's a good boyfriend underneath it all.
Yeah, I mean her exact is, we killed them, didn't we? Like,
yeah,
like she coming to the realization, but she still needs him to like say it to like make it real.
Right, and she's at this point she's trying to absolve herself, and she's distancing herself from her actions, and she's putting it all on him, and and she's, like I said, she's now no longer his accomplice, she's now his enemy, basically. She's going to stop him.
Yeah, so much that they get into a classic Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd, did two, did not, did two, did not. Where like I did not want them dead.
Right.
Yes, you did too.
Yeah.
And then eventually she just got, I mean, I guess she bangs on the horn or something.
Well, I think school lets out. I think what happens is school lets out, if I remember.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of the girls show up, and they see them, or the other two Heathers, they see them arguing, and they say, "Oh, young love, whatever." And then one of the girls runs up and they say, "Did you hear? School's canceled. Kurt and Rod killed themselves in a repressed homosexual suicide pact."
Yeah.
And then JD has this great line, like again, he's trying to like reassure Veronica, and he's just like, they had nothing to offer the world except rapes and AIDS jokes.
Yeah.
Again, trying to like make it okay that like, they were just jocks, like they didn't have anything else to offer the world,
Right.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's not a justification. I'm just saying it's not a good enough justification to kill him.
Right. And then we cut to the funeral, and the boys are being buried in their football gear.
Full and the helmet too, like not even just the
I think they're wearing suits and like with the helmets, right? Or are they?
Right. I think it is helmets with
Yeah.
suits, I think.
But they're not wearing the padding, just the helmet.
Yeah.
Dad is,
Yeah.
crying over his son. He says,
I love my dead gay son.
"I love my decade son."
I don't know how many times I've yelled that and when I was a young teen.
And JD and Veronica are laughing, and then this little girl turns around and like makes eye contact with Veronica, and she's crying. And you see, I think that's the moment where Veronica finally is like, "Oh fuck, I'm really
This is real.
this is fucking real." Yeah,
This
Lord
is a
God.
real person with real family, with real people who loved him, and now he's dead because of me.
Yeah.
So and then I think that now the guidance counselor is in her full glory, right? She gets to everything she wanted to happen, everything, she's taking control. And she has them holding their hands, the show for the TV cameras. And then front and center is Veronica Duke. Is that Duke? Veronica Duke?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, but before that, we have another diary scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and-
because this is an awesome diary entry.
She's like, as soon as I gave Heather depth, Curtis soul, and Ram a brain. So this line, I have no control when I'm around JD. Are we going to prom or to hell? So again, it's more of her, saying, I don't have any control. It's all JD. And like, I don't know. I still feel like while she's realizing the gravity of what's going on, she's still not fully taking responsibility for.
Yeah. Cool thing. I have the shooting script. So that last line is different in this. It says, it's God versus my boyfriend, and God's losing.
Oh, why'd they change that? That's cool.
I think they're both good lines, honestly. I mean, he turns a lot of really good, phrases in this. We've talked about that.
Yeah. And now Pauline, the hippy dippy teacher, is coming into the cafeteria to get everyone together, trying to everyone to join hands.
Yeah, they're putting on the show. Like it's definitely she's her methods now, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Is this where the camera's already like
they show like everything broad, and then they focus in on new head Heather, who's kind of definitely they're all putting on a show for the camera. It's just more of the same of we're so sad for these people. I can't believe this is happening to us. We had all these wonderful people taken from us, which is all in their minds bullshit because they didn't like any of them.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of this fake facade that they have going about, it's just more of the same.
And then, and we see Martha, and she sort of hides under the table, and then she comes out. She has this very brief exchange with JD where he just says, greetings and salutations to her. I guess they're they're the two outsiders in this like just gross.
But I thought that was more like he was using Martha, because then the next scene is then we start talking about how they have he's blackmailing the other Heather with Martha stuff. So I think he was definitely knew that Martha was a soft spot, and and she definitely got what he needed out of her because he got the pictures, right? So he must have got them from Martha.
Yeah, but we don't see any of that until later.
Right.
Yeah, and I love this line by Peter, who was one of
why.
Right. Yeah.
And then we're back at JD's.
Yeah, Jeff, get us back on track. I think I jumped us. I think I jumped us up a little bit.
My internet froze for a second. Can you guys hear me?
Oh,
yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to hit one funny. Peter from the yearbook committee or whatever was like, I'm going to need a VH copy of all this by Monday for my Princeton application.
Right.
Like every character, even one-liners, who are people who have like 5 lines in the whole movie, is out for themselves.
Right. Absolutely.
150%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Pauline also mentioned something about like miraculously cameras came by or something when she set up the whole thing. Like
Yeah.
she basically brokered this whole, she set this whole situation up, but she needs to make it look like it just it happened
Spontaneous and,
organically.
people are admiring what I'm doing so much that they want to come down and see it. That's
It must be documented for the people.
right. Because I am such a thought leader and innovator that people need to see this, because
I made them hold hands.
right.
So then they're back at JD's, and Veronica is like, they're saying everything is chaos, and JD has this another wonderful weird line. Chaos is what killed the dinosaurs, darling. It's just it's so weird, like something, like we were saying this earlier, just such strange turns of phrase and such strange, it's like, what?
I tell you, it works. Like most of it works really, really, really well. And that's, I mean, honestly, that's one of probably the dialogue is probably the best part about this movie. The story is a story. I mean, it's not anything really like earth-shattering or new, but the way they communicate and the way they interact, I think, is what makes this movie so great.
And then JD's still trying to rationalize it to her. He's saying our way is the way. We scare people into not being assholes. So he's trying to put a spin on this, like,
hey, he hasn't given up. He wants Bonnie and Clyde, and she doesn't want it. He's not giving up.
Let me know if this line is in the, I don't remember this particular word, but part of the dinosaur darling thing. We're going to make Westerberg a purified place to get an education.
I don't think that was,
because that sounds fucking Nazi.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Because then it goes right into, face it, our way is the way. We scare people into being into not being assholes.
I think they dropped.
They might have edited that.
I think they edited that. I don't remember that. Because I think I would remember that.
I remember something about a place to get an education, but I don't remember the word purified.
Yeah, purified is not a great term most of the time. It's one you want to stay away from.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to make sure I wasn't. And I just got this off the internet, so it may just be some crazy guys like reinterpretation.
Anything that says purified from the internet, you're probably on a list now. Just so you know, you're probably on somebody.
I'm on so many lists.
So then JD arrives. He's got a videotape. He just starts playing it for them. Demolition. I put a Norwegian in the boiler room, set off a pack of thermals upstairs, and JD's like, and you see like the wheels turning in his head. He's like, oh, okay. And it's important that we get that line because, obviously later on,
foreshadowing, right?
It's exactly what happens.
I forget. Is this when we find out that his mom was blowed up?
Yeah. Right after this, Veronica asks him if he likes his father. He says, I've never given the matter much thought. I liked my mother. And then he reveals like how she died, how she walked into a building 2 minutes before it blew up, how it was ruled an accident, but he felt like she knew what she was doing. So maybe she knew she was married to a psychopath. Maybe she realized her kid was a psychopath, or maybe this is what made him a psychopath. This could have been the straw that broke the camel's back for JD.
Yeah, and it just makes a previous line so much more creepy when he says, when the last time the three of them were at JD's house, and he said something like, last time I saw my mom, she was waving to me from a library. He's talking about either when his mom committed suicide, or when he murdered his mom, or when his father murdered his mom.
Right.
Fondly in a jokingly way, in like a conversation with his dad in front of his girlfriend.
Well, I took that more as a dig towards his father. Like, I think he thinks his father killed his mother. That's what I got from it. And he's letting his father know that he knows. Or that's what, like, when I went, after you find out how she died, then you go back and like, oh, he's just that's a dig at his dad.
I think like, I don't know if she was killed or suicided, but I don't think JD was responsible for her death. Again, I think that he probably
he was definitely impacted, and he definitely
Right.
shaped.
I think he
future,
loved
yeah.
it there, and I think this is what.
I think he was a cute kid who got his way, just like he was like a smoking hot teenager, and he was like that smart kid who can have adult conversations, and then he was a psychopath from like age 6.
It's possible. It's possible.
And just how his father was just fed into it, and then, but I think the worst of some people.
Well, I also probably assume from everything you've heard that the mother did the parenting and the father was always kind of, so you can see like they're both like very disassociated with each other. Like they don't know how to really interact. The father's not doing any parenting at all. I mean, that's pretty clear. So since that point,
they had the cute little game where they call each other dad.
Right. That's about it. That's about as far as it goes. So since that moment when his mother died, he was on his own, doing his own thing.
So then we have the radio playing the Big Fun, which we see Big Fun band reference like all throughout the movie. People are wearing the t-shirts. And there's a song now, Teenage Suicide. Don't do it. And JD just shoots the radio, and that's when Veronica says, "That's it, we're breaking up."
that's the
everything
moment.
Else.
That's the breaking up.
Okay.
Right. Murder, fine.
The destruction of property. That was a perfectly good radio.
I think it was more his commentary about Big Fun that she didn't like. I think she's a big fan of the song.
And yeah, he carries around a loaded gun all the time. Like this guy is just ready to pop off.
But those are just tranquilizer bullets, so everything's fine.
So the radio will wake up.
Right. Everything's fine.
And then JD tries to get her to stay. He tries to make out with her, and I don't think this scene is meant to look like it. It looks like she's like a little bit into it, like she's trying to like control herself and say like, no, I'm not going to be like manipulated by you again physically or whatever. And then she gets out of there.
I think it's her conflict, like her inner conflict. Like she's still
like she's enjoying making out with him, but she's like, no, I have to get away from this.
And JD gives her the famous line, "You'll be back."
Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger stole that from
Hamilton, which stole it from this.
Oh, Hamilton stole it from Heather's. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Arnold Schwarzenegger says, "I'll be back." Sorry.
Yeah. I'll be back.
I'm not up on my Schwarzenegger.
Right, yeah, so grab yourself something to eat. Sorry.
No worries.
No problem.
All right.
So then we see Heather Duke meeting with JD. He's got the pictures of Martha, as he must have, that's what he was talking to Martha about. And he's telling her like, yeah, you need to be the new leader. And gives her that, and then he just says like, I'll need a favor, one you'll enjoy, and he's the one that gives her Heather Chandler's bow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he like he's like crowning her.
You're the new queen of the school.
Yeah. And I love the fact that Heather Duke and Martha Dump Truck were friends when they were younger, or they, it's not even saying that they were friends, they're just in a picture together.
Right. She can't have it.
Like, this would ruin me.
Yeah, it's very strange. Very strange.
Well, I will say that is a pretty classic 80s trope where you have
and
the cool people like friends
every
with
time.
nerds.
Yeah.
And now they can't be like, it'll ruin me that I was friends with a nice person who doesn't dress good. It's like, it's amazing to me, but it's in every, like, that's a turning point in most 80s movies. Like, how dare you be friends with nerds?
Even if you were 7.
Right. How dare you? How dare you have a meaningful relationship with somebody nice that treated you like a human being?
And then Veronica's visiting Heather's locker, and then Heather Duke appears, and Veronica just sort of walks away, and and Heather just started rooting through her locker. She just starts taking like a few things. And then next we have Veronica playing croquet with Betty.
Yeah. Betty, played by Renee Estevez, Martin Sheen's daughter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, also on The West Wing with Martin Sheen. So we see this is the beginning of Veronica's redemption, I think. She's playing, she's trying to give what's her name, Betty, a fair chance to win the game, even though she can easily win just by following the rules. And and then but Betty says, sometimes I forget exactly what she says, but
well, I like that part because it's like Betty like, no, don't pity me, like I'm not somebody to be pitied. I'm and I think that's also important. I think that's a big part of this movie. Like the people that are quote unquote lesser in this movie aren't to be pitied. They're real, they're strong individual people too. They're making choices to be who they are. Betty's choosing to not follow. Like, if anything, you should pity the Heathers of the world and not the Bettys of the world.
Yeah, Betty should be admired because she doesn't have to be.
She's standing on her own 2 feet. She doesn't need anything from anybody. She doesn't need acceptance. She doesn't need approval. She's going to be who she's going to be no matter what. So
I also think they're Betty Veronica.
Yeah.
And then the Heathers show up to ruin it, of course.
I don't know where it is. I also have Martha's suicidal. Is that before or after that?
That is just after this.
Okay.
So the Heathers show up, Heather Duke, Heather McNamara, and Heather Duke arrives, and we see her wearing red for the first time.
Yeah.
And they show up, and she says, "I'm red." So she's announcing, like, I'm the new queen.
I'm the new.
Yeah. And then so after that we cut to the gym, and we see Martha, and this whole thing is so sad. Her whole arc is just very tragic. And we see like this TV clip the parents are watching, and it's just these asinine comments. Before a teenager decides to kill himself, there are certain facts he should know. After all, this decision affects all of us. There's only one chance to get it right. Like, it's just like these people are bonkers. These people have lost.
It's like how to start your own real estate business.
Yeah.
Before you buy it, but make sure you have all this information.
And so Veronica sort of walks in on her parents watching this, and this is intercut with Martha walking toward traffic, and we see that she has a suicide note taped to her body.
Yeah, that's
and Veronica,
the only person in the movie that actually wanted to kill herself. Everybody else was fake suicide.
And Veronica, she's screaming at her parents as they're watching this about, like, don't watch this crap. This is the sensationalism of suicide. Well, she doesn't say that, but she's angry about how they're sensationalizing suicide. And she says, we just want to be treated like human beings. And the mom says, and this is the first time we see, I think this is the only time we see anything like this from the mom, Veronica's mom. She says, when teenagers complain they want to be treated like human beings, it's usually because they're being treated human beings. And then right after that, she flips right back to, who she was before. And then the Heather, I think it's Heather Duke, and I think it's just Heather Duke arrives at their house, and announces that Martha tried to kill herself. And she says it's a case of a geek trying to imitate the popular kids and failing miserably. And then she asks for a pate. It's just so callous and evil. Like, I don't even know if Heather Chandler was this evil as Heather Duke became. And Veronica slaps her, which is like, thank you, Veronica, for slapping this bitch. And then they talk, and they're back in Veronica's bedroom, and and they realize that the radio show Hot Probs is on.
Yeah. So the guy who plays the DJ is the original host of Loveline. before
What's it?
before Adam Carolla.
Oh my God.
Because I saw him on, because he had like a name. It was like Joe Poor Man Johnson or what or something. I guess I should look that up, but like he was an actual.
It's not really Joe Poor Man Johnson.
His nickname is Poor Man.
Okay,
Poor Man. I just don't know what his real name is. But he was the original Loveline host, and this is a very like fake Loveline type show.
And then cheerleader Heather is found out to have problems, and
Heather McNamara. Yeah. And it's really sad because she really just is having like really run-of-the-mill teenage girl problems, but she's just in this wacky world where everyone is just fucking terrible, and she's starting to think that the only solution is to kill herself. And Heather Duke, upon hearing all this, she's laughing, saying, "Oh, they're gonna crucify her." Like she's excited
right.
At how Heather, might be treated after this.
What she really means is how she's going to treat Heather.
Well, yeah. And then after this, we see Heather. They're back at school. Heather goes to the bathroom, and then Veronica realizes she's in there for a while. Veronica realizes what's going on. Finds her in the bathroom. She's got a mouthful of pills, and fortunately stops her before she's able to go through with it. And then we see JD collecting on his favor from Heather Duke.
Well, and I will say, you go back to this, like so far we've had two people that have really tried to kill themselves.
Yeah.
And they're the people that aren't hardened, aren't selfish. They're more empathetic. Like they couldn't handle the world that is there.
Yeah.
And all these other people are just raging assholes, self-centered, like seriously, like the rest of them. And they're, but the ones that really need help are the ones that are getting mocked, and the ones that are getting left behind. And Martha gets made fun of because she's trying to be cool by killing herself.
Right.
And Heather, cheerleader Heather gets mocked because she feels bad because her supposed boyfriend and her supposed best friend killed themselves.
Yeah.
Is there something wrong with her? And instead of, reaching out and helping her, they just torment her because she's weak. They're like, it's like survival of the fittest.
By JD and Veronica, setting these things up to be suicides, they've normalized suicide too. Mm-hmm. So now
they made it popular. They didn't just normalize.
That is the solution. Yeah. If you have issues, then
it's what the cool kids are doing. It's not just even normal. It's like, hey, you want to be cool, you want to die and everybody love you. This is the way to do it, because as she said, it gave one of the jocks a brain, one of them a soul, and then I forget whatever her diary entry was.
Yeah.
It just gave them all depth, and they made them real people, even though they were horrible, horrible people in real life.
Yeah.
Are we to Veronica's next diary entry yet, or am I too far ahead?
My next note is, we have Heather being tormented, Veronica helps her, and then JD and the petition. I don't know if that's before or after the.
Yeah. So JD collects on his favor from Heather Duke. He tells her, I guess, to say that it's a petition for. I guess he tells her it's to get Big Fun to play.
Right. They weren't allowed. They were banned from playing at their thing, and
yeah,
they wanted him to.
But it seems like later on she because she tells people all sorts of things.
Anything.
Anything.
So she seems to understand what's going on.
She's just manipulating. Like this is who she is now. She's going to do whatever it takes to get what she wants.
And then Heather gives JD her copy of Moby Dick, which we find out later he's already started to underline passages that might make her look
right
like a certain way when he frames her for suicide.
And some of it's just ridiculous. Like it's just like one word or something like that.
Eskimo.
Yeah.
And that's the one that the priest later at the
So then Veronica and Heather have another exchange. Another great line. Why are you such a mega bitch? Heather goes, because I can be. yeah, JD appears. He tries to ask Veronica out again, and then he makes a joke about Heather staging Heather's suicide, and and this is where he says the thing about he's already outlining or highlighting passages in Moby Dick, and he says he knew she'd be back, but she's not really back.
Quick trivia thing there. In the shooting script, it's actually a copy of Catcher in the Rye. And I did read in IMDb trivia that was the original plan, but that they couldn't get permission to use it because J.D. Salinger never gave anyone permission to use it in anything.
And it's also kind of, I think that's a little too close to home, right? Because it seems like every like psychopath uses Catcher in the Rye as kind of their manifesto.
Yeah. So then Veronica's at home. They tell her that JD stopped by concerned and left a note. And we just see it's him. He's imitated her handwriting to look like it was hers. And then when she goes to her room, there's a doll hanging by a noose that's wearing a Big Fun t-shirt, which is very, very grim. So then we see Veronica sleeping, and then we have this dream sequence where JD appears in her room. And then we have the thing about the Eskimo, how he's like, you can underline any word and people will take like whatever from it. Like, look, Eskimo. And he highlights that as like a joke. And then later, so next they're in Heather Duke's house.
Wait, hold on. I have a note before the suicide of another line that I really liked. Veronica, why are you pulling my dick? And that's when she was talking to the other Heather. I thought that was a funny. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to throw that in there. I think that's a great line.
Yeah. Oh, and there's so many. So then they're in Heather Duke's house, and JD grabs a knife, and the one thing Veronica says about the knife, she's like, that knife is dirty. If Heather was going to kill herself, that knife would be spotless. And then he cleans the knife, and then she sees her reflection in the knife. And then he runs to her room, and then we cut to the funeral for Heather Duke. And it's very strange looking. Everyone's wearing 3D glasses. The priest is talking about the significance of the word Eskimo. And then Heather Chandler appears to Veronica, and she's like making fun of like the poor turnout funeral. And then it sort of blends in with reality because we hear her being called for dinner. And that's when Veronica wakes up.
Yeah, I love Father Ripper's Eskimo little thing. So on the surface, Heather Duke was a vivacious young lady we all knew her to be, but her soul was in Antarctica, freezing with Eskimos are in Alaska, freezing with the knowledge of the way fellow teenagers can be cruel, the way parents can be unresponsive. And she writes so eloquently in her suicide note, the way life can suck. We'll all miss Sherwood's little Eskimo. Let's hope she's rubbing noses with Jesus.
So brilliant. So brilliant. So next we see, the diary entry. And you can tell like she's plotting something. She says something like, I wonder how JD will feel about a suicide he didn't plan. And then next we see JD entering her room, and we see that Veronica has hanged herself. And he was like, I love you. I was coming to kill you, but I love you. I was going to try to convince you to take me back first. And then he reveals to her, thinking she's dead, that the petition is getting everyone to sign on for basically a mass suicide of blowing up the school. Then he leaves. Her mom discovers her, and then we see that she's not really dead. And then next we are at the school for the
And I love this. The guidance counselor says whether to kill yourself or not is one of the most important decisions a teenager can make.
Yeah, mapping it on picking colleges.
Yeah, right. Just amazing. I mean, it's amazing.
It really is so great. This movie just goes bonkers with
Right.
how deep they're in all this shit.
Right. Well, I think that's, that's the whole point. It's like
Yeah.
it's all bullshit, whatever.
Yeah, once you suspend disbelief, then you might as well just go
Yeah,
for it.
right,
Like
right.
we already know that this is not a historical work of fiction,
Right.
or that it takes place in any universe that I've ever been in. But it's a nice place to visit, and for an hour and 42 minutes.
Well, I think it's pretty spot on commentary. I mean, obviously not about suicide, but the way we'll grab up,
Yeah, but
the
everything
cause
is
and-
blown up
Right,
to 1.5 times of what
whenever we
reality
find that social justice cause or whatever cause, I don't want to use the term social justice, whatever cause you have, of the cause of the moment, that's what happens. Everybody just takes it and they go with it, and then it just explodes, and the original whatever it was is gone, and then it's this new Frankenstein cause that only applies to some people, and then the real people that need the help are getting ridiculed and mocked because they're not the people that other people respect. And then I think it's pretty spot on social commentary, actually.
Yeah, and the writer even said, like, he saw all these high school movies, but he's like, that's not what high school is. This is what high school is. High school is like a fight for your life, literally, for some people.
And just either you step in line and you do what you're told, and you follow along blindly, or you get run over, and that's kind of unless you're Betty. Betty stands on her own 2 feet. She doesn't need anybody.
Betty is really. I'd like to know more about Betty. I wonder.
Betty's a bad bitch.
Yeah.
Betty don't mess around.
Yeah, there's so many possibilities for the Heather's cinematic universe.
Mhm.
We could have, we have just easily, a sequel, like an Avengers 2, where we're now Veronica.
Wouldn't we have to have like a Betty movie that carries
And then
the story along, and then
then
Martha
Betty
movie, and then Heather's too? And
Yeah, Heather's written from the perspective of Betty. Well, they tried to make a TV show like a couple years ago, I guess.
I think they did, yeah.
And I never saw it, but I just heard that it was terrible because one, I think this whole thing would be really hard to do now anyway, with all of the shootings and the blowing up of the schools. Like, it's just, I don't know that it would work now anyway. But
I think you'd have to change from suicide to something else.
yeah.
But you could definitely have like a mean kid. I mean, especially with like Netflix and shit now, like there's so many other avenues where you could have a much darker story, and it would work, but I don't think
I really think this movie is like lightning in a bottle, though. I think everything was just done really well, and it's like, don't fuck with it. I don't even know this musical that's going. I don't even know. I don't want to.
Yeah, I was listening to the musical a little bit. I don't know. I'd have to listen to it more. I don't want to say anything not nice, but
I am sure I would enjoy it. I like musicals, but I'm not.
Who doesn't like a musical?
But I was like you said, lightning in a bottle. Like, if you try to put this movie out in the 70s, it probably would be like, even more of a cult, or just like almost, they might not make this movie.
It wouldn't be made. I don't think it'd be made.
And then you try to put it out now, and it's insensitive, and it will get killed.
Yeah.
But that also being said, I mean, you see the influence of this movie in so many of these movies now. Some of these angst movies that you get, like we talked about. I mean, Mean Girls. It's like the prime example, but you see it all over the place.
Yeah, there's a terrible version done a little bit before Mean Girls, I think, called Jawbreaker.
I like Jawbreaker. I like Jawbreaker.
I like Jawbreaker.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay. I don't know. I may have only seen it a couple times, but
Rose McGowan. Right?
Yeah, come on, man. There was all kinds of good people in Jawbreaker, wasn't there?
Yeah, Judy Greer, I think, is also in it. Really good.
You stand corrected.
I'll give it another shot, but
how dare you? You stand corrected.
All right.
And another little tidbit I read. The writer also wrote this. He was like, "What if Stanley Kubrick wrote a teen movie?" And I think Stanley Kubrick was approached to direct this. So can you even imagine how? I think the movie's fantastic and perfect, but I'm like, what would that have looked like? That would have been pretty intense. So, okay, so we're at the school, and JD, he's carrying around just I guess a fuck ton of dynamite because he's protecting it everywhere. He's rigging the school.
'Cause he's a Warner Brothers cartoon villain. He's like,
while they're having their suicide
you know,
pep rally. I guess it's a pep rally at this point, right? It's a suicide pep rally.
And he's got like one duffel bag. Like, wouldn't it be very heavy? Wouldn't that be like?
Well, doesn't he also have it strapped all over him?
I think later. Well, no, he does. Yes,
Because he's got his trench. He's got his duster on. So
yeah. But he also like because he's planting it underneath the bleachers and then finds him down in the boiler room. Because she asks this kid, what's under the gym? He says the boiler room, and then she puts together from the foreshadowing earlier the Norwegian in the boiler room, setting off, the dynamite. And so she confronts JD. She has a gun, and she realizes what she's doing. JD manages to knock her unconscious, continues rigging. But then they have another sort of fight. She hits him with a fire extinguisher, and she grabs the gun, but he runs away. So they're in like, I'm kind of like, well, Veronica, why don't you just run to the gym and scream at everyone to get out? Because
I don't know if that would have worked though.
I don't know either, but I'm like, you're better off trying to evacuate at least because you don't know that you're going to be able to get him to.
Or pull a fire alarm. Maybe fire alarm would be easier.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make for good cinema.
Yeah. But then JD says to her, "You think because you started this, you can end it?" And they have an argument, and he says, "Fuck you," and he's flipping her off, and then she shoots off his middle finger.
She's a great shot. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah.
I was just saying they're both great shots because he was clearly going dead center Adam's apple on poor Chuck or whatever his fucking name, Kurt. Sorry.
So he's telling her he wants a clean slate because no one loves him. The only place different social types can get along is in heaven. So he's clearing the slate for everybody, I guess. That's what he's trying to say.
Yeah, he's making himself into a Jesus figure.
Yeah. Now it's a cult right now. And there's a lot of cult-like behavior throughout the whole movie. So it's not that far off base where he, has put himself in the savior role. And these are his followers because they've bought in to the cult of suicide, and they're all kind of all on board, and so it's not far off.
They just don't know he's the leader. They don't
right.
They don't know that
they're being that he's the puppet master over top of their little marionette show.
So then he shoots at him, and he somehow stabs the bomb, and that makes the countdown stop. So it seems like the day is saved. So then she leaves. He's sort of like passed out, so she leaves. Again, this would be a great time to alert an authority figure.
Right. Well, once again, let's not forget who the police officers are. Again, it's not,
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Between finding a phone, in a 1989 public high school, calling 911, explaining exactly what's going on to Tweedledum and Tweedledummer, and then getting them there. I mean, I think she had to go with her the problem right in front of her right there. But
so then so she's outside. JD, it turns out, is alive. He follows her out. He says he's impressed with how bad she fucked him up, and then he tells her she has power. And we didn't talk about this, but there was like a few conversations about power, who has power. And for a while we think Heather Duke has the power, JD has power, but it's like, no, Veronica has the power. She has more power within herself than she realized. And then he shows her that he's wearing a bomb. He says the slate is clean. And then we have a callback to the little lunchtime poll in the beginning. He says, pretend I blew up the schools. Now that you're all dead, what are you going to do with your life? She pulls out a cigarette. And then we have this great,
And then there it is. Jeff
yeah, we have
Bezos.
the literal Jesus
There it is.
imagery. Camera pulls up. We don't see him blow up, but
You see the blowback and then
Yeah, and it's not a gory. There's almost no blood. It's just like comic booky kind of just burn pattern up to and including Winona Ryder's face. But and that this is like the iconic image when I think of this movie, because it kind of lights her cigarette and she starts smoking it, which is like, you know, a microcosm of this movie, like the coolest possible thing that could have happened. But could that actually have ever, can you actually light a cigarette from the blast of dynamite? This is only like 20 feet away too. Like,
I mean, it's a pretty big blast. I mean, I don't know if he didn't get any further damage.
And I love the ending, of course. Obviously, she comes and she takes the crown, right?
Yeah.
And then who does she choose to rule the kingdom with?
Martha.
And Martha's doing circles around her as they walk down into the sunset of the hallway, kind of like Fred Astaire style. Like, it's very nice ending.
Yeah.
Veronica does have one more really good line. Heather Duke sees her and she says, "You look like hell." And she goes, "Yeah, I just got back." It takes her. Really fun.
And also when she comes up to Martha, her opening is like, "So my date for prom kind of flaked. He just killed himself." Right, while locking eyes with you.
He's a freaky guy, man. And then we have
man.
We have another version of Que Sera Sera by Sly and the Family Stone.
Nice.
To take us out, to take us home.
All right. Well, speaking of taking us home, what do you think? Would you?
I love this movie more than I loved it because I had not seen this movie probably in 15 years. Which seems like too long, but I was pleasantly surprised how well it held up, and 2 thumbs up. Would watch again.
Nice. Kristen, what'd you think?
Oh, I love this movie. This is one of my favorite. Every time I watch it, I'm just, God damn, this is so smart. It's so funny. I love Winona Ryder. I love Christian Slater. I was actually talking to one of my friends about it, and he was like, "Yeah, I tried to watch it one time. I couldn't really get into it." And I was like, "Give it another try. Like, it's, I promise, like you'll get into it." But two thumbs up as well.
Definitely held up for me. I love a dialogue-driven movie. I love the interactions. I love the social commentary of the movie. I think it's more than just like, dark comedy. I think it does have a lot to say about society and teenage life and following the crowd and all that kind of nonsense. So I think it definitely held up. I would definitely watch it again. I, like Jeff, have probably not watched it in 10, 15 years either. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad you picked it. I think it was a great choice. Thank you. And I would absolutely watch it again.
Cool.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for us then. Thank you for watching and listening to us talk about the Heathers with Kristen McKenzie. He's been John, I've been Jeff, and this has been talking about the ADDs.
Movies.
All right. We go.